Unit 6, page 5. Sexual versus asexual reproduction. Do now fill in the table on your handout. Pause the video here and press play when you're ready to review. Okay, you're ready to review. Let's take a look at the do now. Sexual reproduction results from one parent, so the genetic outcome of the offspring is identical. Whereas sexual reproduction, the number of parents is 2, and there is variation in the offspring. Sexual reproduction involves 2 parents. Sex cells, otherwise known as gametes, are sperm and egg. Sperm and egg join in the process of fertilization, and the offspring look different from the parents. It's mixed DNA. Sexual reproduction include humans, some plants, mammals, fish, and reptiles. In sexual reproduction, we have sperm joining with the egg to make a zygote, which eventually forms into an embryo and then into a fetus. Asexual reproduction involves one parent. There are no sex cells. Offspring are produced by cell division, known as mitosis. Offspring are identical to the parent, so it's the same DNA. This happens in several types of plants as well as some other animals. Types of asexual reproduction include binary fission, budding, regeneration, sporulation, and vegetative propagation. Sporulation we can see with bread mold being spread, and vegetative propagation with cutting of plants. Now we're going to have a little bit of a quiz. Let's see how many types of reproduction you can identify correctly. What type of reproduction is pictured here? This is asexual reproduction, and it's also known as budding. And here, this is asexual, and it's an example of binary fission. And here, again, asexual and binary fission. We see here the lizard regrowing its tail. This is also asexual, and it's known as regeneration. We see here a family. This is sexual reproduction. And in this diagram, asexual, and does anyone know what this is called? This one is called budding. Notice how it's an unequal division. That's how we know that it's budding. And what type of reproduction is shown here? This is binary fission, which is a type of asexual reproduction. We know it's binary fission because it's an even division. And the type of reproduction here? This is asexual, and it's also vegetative propagation. And in this picture here, where we see an amputation and a healing wound, and we eventually have the complete regrowth, this is asexual, and it is regeneration. Here we have an amoeba dividing. This is asexual, otherwise known as binary fission. Here we have a yeast cell. This is asexual, and it's known as budding. We have bread mold, asexual, and this is sporulation. We have another example here, which is asexual, and this is regeneration. And this is asexual and regeneration. We see sperm and egg, so this is sexual. So we're going to discuss asexual versus sexual. Mitosis involves cell division, causes multicellular organisms to grow, even in humans. Cells are identical to parent cells, so it's same DNA. So when you're growing, your cells are dividing and replicating, so it's the same DNA as you grow. Whereas meiosis is the creation of sex cells or gametes. This allows sexually reproductive organisms the ability to reproduce. Cells are different than the parent cells, giving variation to these organisms. Sex cells created have half or haploid the chromosomes of the parent, which was diploid. So the fertilization comes out with a full set of chromosomes. So you have haploid plus haploid to equal the diploid. Now, there are different advantages and disadvantages. For sexual reproduction, an advantage is that you have a high genetic variability. This allows for more adaptations in a species, and it speeds up the evolutionary process because the better traits that arise are going to have a better chance at surviving. The disadvantage, though, is that this is very energy costly. Organisms must find time and resources to get a mate. They usually sacrifice fitness of one sex to the other. However, asexual, an advantage is the fact that it saves energy. There's no courtship because you don't have to worry about finding a mate. Its greatest increase in fitness for each individual. However, a disadvantage with asexual reproduction is the low genetic variability. The adaptations to the environment is very difficult and it slows evolution. So remember to write down 2 questions to check for understanding based on this lecture.